Okay, everyone. Sorry, excuse me. I'm here to help you understand how you interpret a motion map. So, how do you describe a motion map? So, this is a picture of a motion map showing where we started from, which is here, right? 0 seconds at this position, which is the reference point or zero. Okay. And we also know that the arrowhead points in the positive direction. Okay. And we know that our object was in motion for 4 seconds. And we also know that it traveled at a constant velocity because the arrows are all the same size and the dots are all the same space apart. Okay. So let's just fill this out because this is how you're going to be doing the first practice sheet. You're going to be filling out or answering these questions. So for you guys, you can just highlight. I've included all the possible answers for you, constant, non-constant, etc. So I've included the answers for you on the sheet. You can just highlight the one that's there. And then occasionally there will be things that sort of kind of break those rules, or you have two different types of motion that you describe. So you can just kind of break it into two sections. And I'll show you what I mean in a moment. Okay, so first thing, starting point. Where'd we start? We started at the reference point, or you could call it the point of reference, or you could call it zero. Okay. What direction are we starting in? We're starting in the positive direction. So you could write the word positive, or you could just make plus sign. I usually put parentheses around my plus signs just because that's how it works for me. Rate of motion. Here you're talking about constant, non constant, or not moving, right? So in this case, we know we're constant. And what speed are we going at? Generally speaking, it's like either fast, slow, speeding up, slowing down, or not moving. This is fairly slow. So we can write slow. Ending position, somewhere in the positive direction. So we can say away from the reference point in the positive direction, or we can accidentally put two lines right next to each other. Away in the positive direction. Okay, time. How much time did it take? It took 4 seconds, right? So to write this all out in a sentence, so the idea is that you're going to be able to describe this motion in a complete sentence, more or less, that includes all this information, because that's kind of like the bridge between doing motion maps and then making graphs. Okay, so when I write this out, I will say object. Let's type. Should we type it? Let's type it, y'all. Type it. Hello. Please let me do that. There we go. Object starts at reference point, moves in the positive, or you could put plus sign, direction with a, again, positive constant velocity for 4 seconds. I'm going to just do with a positive constant velocity for 4 seconds. There we go. Now you can see that a little bit better. Oops, excuse me. There we go. Heck. All right, so that should get us where we need to go. And now you can see kind of the explanation of that whole thing. I'm going to move it over so you can see it a little better. Okay, so the object starts at the reference point. Here, it moves in the positive direction with a positive and constant velocity for 4 seconds. That's the whole motion. And it ends at a place somewhere in the positive direction away from the reference point, right? Now, what if I change colors and put in, maybe it waits for 3 seconds, right? And then goes back. Okay. What if I did that? Right. So if it has multiple parts, so then you would have time equals 5, time equals 6, time equals 7. This would be time equals 8. And this would be time equals 9. Okay. If you have multiple parts, you can fill this out in multiple ways, right? So you could say, okay, so maybe the first part of our motion we'll call A and the second part of our motion we'll call B, right? So if this is A and this is B, then you could just write B next to it, or you could use two different colors, right? So like you might, instead of writing it with like this, you could trace over, you could make the A blue, okay? Because then you wrote in blue over here. So A's on this half and then B's on this half, right? Okay. So then you would say, okay, well, where does our blue motion start? Well, it actually starts at somewhere in the positive direction. Okay. What direction does it start moving in? It starts moving in the negative direction. Well, first it stands still. So let's erase that and we'll say still and then negative. So you could even split this up into A, B, C if you wanted to, right? So rate of motion is going to be stopped, and then it's going to be going constant negative. Excuse me, pen. Sorry, sometimes the pen doesn't write. Constant negative, constant, negative. So this one I should have put constant positive, so that's my bad. Then speed, well, of course, to start, it has no motion or it's stopped, and then it's going slow. Okay. Ending position is still going to be away from the reference point, but less far away, right? How long did it do that for? Well, it was stopped for, we'll say from here is 1, 2, 3. So stopped for 3. And then it moves for 2. And then it's moving negative for 2 seconds. And then if you write the whole thing out, you would add to that down here, right? You would then say, okay, so after it does this, for the first 4 seconds, it then stops for 3 seconds and then turns around and goes in the negative direction with a constant negative velocity for 2 seconds. Okay. So that's how you would do that whole problem. I just want to keep it really short for you because I don't want to waste a whole bunch of your time watching videos. So hopefully this helps you with describing your motion maps.